Welcome, everybody, to Mudflood was Armageddon. The Mudflood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you or me in a fair and honest way. I'll be getting to the dog bites. This will be a message I think the Father will bless. Oh, first, watch how I have to do this. First, if you can see what I'm doing, I forgot to put up the share screen thing. Now I got to click the entire screen, click the highlight, hit the button, share the screen, uh, hide the tab, go to the fair use statement, and then the pictures, because mostly we're gonna go over a lot with the pictures. Let's just start here at the last one here. Note that until 1707, treaties were between the five nations and England, but after 1711, or at least after 1722, they were between the Six Nations and Britain. The dates of this Constitution operation are unknown. The League was formed in approximately what they call the year 1000 through 1450. That's a pretty big approximate. But the Constitution was oral. See, we're not talking about the United States. We're talking about the Iroquois Constitution. That Constitution was oral until it was written about 1888. They don't know. The League still exists. Well, that's good to know. I'm going to look up the clan mother too. Don't worry. There's no proof for that. Perspectives on Jewish law between their two schools' disagreements of thought are found throughout Mishnah. The Tanaim was teachers of the oral law. Jesus was not a fan. Are said to be direct transmitters of that oral tradition. That the rewrite history people love to say, well, we trust it, and they told us this, and we wrote it down, and now we got their Mishnah, the Tanaic teaching of the Talmud. The Tanaim were the last generation in a long sequence of oral teachers that began with Moses. Oh, wow, okay. Reviled by the, in quote, new religion of Handsome Lake, they were also rejected by the Christian Iroquois as holding pagan beliefs. Who? Well, these guys sitting around with this idol in front of them in the 1900s and still going Society of Mystic Animals. Open quote. Most of the societies are of ancient origin, and that their rituals have been transmitted with little change for many years. Close that quote, open anew. Each society has a legend by which its origin and particular rites are explained. Evolution, revolution of religious thought at Handsome Lake open quote, sought to destroy the societies and orders that conserved the older religious rite. You can see right here where my mouse is. That's when they decided, you know what? 1722 round it. We got to take it underground, man. Well, that was when Satan was loose, and everything is now explained because we know that the mud flood was Armageddon. Hey, did you know that Mark Dice launched a campaign urging people to send letters and DVDs to U.S. troops stationed in Iraq that told them the truth about September 11, 2001. That's what triggered the last 45 years of the blessed are those who make the 1335. And Ronald Reagan's son, Michael Reagan, adopted son, he said no, he didn't want to do it, although it's a slippery slope and he didn't support same-sex marriage. He was against that. I was looking at Michael Reagan, I guess. I also looked at chow chows. It can cost homeowners more with their insurance because they considered them a high-risk dog. I saw that 8 out of 238 fatalities relating to dog bites from 1979 to 1998. You know, I wanted to look up 25 years. So I looked up 2000 to 2024. And here, this might as well read Chow Chow's, what I think is the world's most wonderful dog. 230 of the fatalities in that 30-year span or 20-year span, not Chow Chows. Chow Chows have a purple tongue. That's what I was looking for. We'll get to this dog bite real soon, I think. Dog bite deaths per year between 2018 and 2023 is 70. Okay, well, if that was 20, that'd be 140. Is that right? Or more? Wow. The annual deaths from 2015 to 2013 were 33.6 deaths per year. A preliminary suggests that last year it could reach 113 dog bite deaths. Something that was pretty rare not that long ago. I have a friend whose son, the first friend I'd made when I moved to Alamosis, son was eaten by dogs, died of dog bite death. We're making a little interview video about it manana, and I thought I'd go over this, and I had no idea that the gangs and the dog bite fatalities are going nuts. Kind of leveled off. It's going nuts. What do you mean leveled off? Oh, from their projected rise? Huh? Dog bite death. Dog bite fatalities. California, well, I think that they have a lot of gangs there sicking dogs on people. They have at least one gang, suspected meth dealer in Antonito, who owned dogs, who killed my friend's son while walking his dog, left him lying in the ditch 2 hours. Chow Chows don't do it. It's the pit bulls, the ones that are trained, the Rottweilers trained to kill. Don't give me the 66% of the fatalities. Don't give me the combination of V39 dog breeds. And then I go to look it up. There's no such thing. There is no way that you can come up with anything when you search combination of V9 dog breeds, except pictures of dog breeds, 130. Look, oh my, it's Tartaria everywhere on a globe. How many Tartarias do you see? There's 2. Any more? This is 3. So 3 in one little screenshot. Probably some more here. Who knows? But you know what? It fit on a ball. Now we're going to get a new explanation. A new hypothesis, because I've got some proof here. I have a few more pictures that the guy who did that, what you would consider a globe, is only showing it from the star's perspective. He's not saying, and he says on it, it's not a globe. We know that, well, I've got it pulled up. I just wanted to show, like, look at how long ago? 1500s, Africa. Come on, man. The mud flood was Armageddon, you know? I was looking, is there a date on this? Maybe somebody will be like, hey, I recognize that from something, because it looked cooler when I saved it and I look at it now. Another one, or the same one. Hey, this guy's that guy who made the globe. And why would he do this? To show that, hey, line of sight and horizon. I think I have one of his quotes cut out. At this point, I am going to make sure, so no complaints, I can't hear you, no black screen. Good, because that's important stuff, right? Huh? Oh, pictures. The sphere of the world, that Lane's globe, I think, is not the earth, but the heavens. As Sarkaboska quotes Theodosius saying, it is a solid body, but it is divided into 9 parts. The first moved. The sphere of the fixed stars, the firmament, and the 7 planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Moon. There is a right sphere and an oblique sphere of the heavens. The right sphere observed by those at the equators. So you're looking up at it, and it's moving in a circle. I think they expected people to think, imagine you're in the heavens. This is what you're spinning around. And it wouldn't enter their mind. It was flat. They know it's a firmament. They know they're fixed. Look at these citation needed. The citation needed, because they're not reading it the way I read it. They're wanting you to imply that, the billions and billions of years ago, light shined into an amoeba-filled ammonia pool. Question, is this an analema? Not a globe map? Is it showing how, because this is an analema, but it's writing on the top of it. Genius. I'm going to try to carve that. I'm going to try to carve that out of wood. What's going on with this thing? Why is it so big? Was that the last picture? So I got the stationary stuff. Felt like there was more. Dog bites. Glad we got that out of the way. Some people might not have here. Thought I had more Michael Reagan stuff. Bugs, toxins. Neuroproteomics, cyber-linked neurocog manipulation. Come on, stop it. What is this? These are made-up organic neurotoxins. That doesn't sound like a made-up word. Neurophysiological recordings. Okay, well, we're back in business on a few more pictures. So they have your corpus callosum, your eye of Horus, your hypothalamus, your thalamus. They have these targeted for psyops to for economic leverage to keep you happy as a wage slave. I'm sorry, I mean a human resource. I'm not sorry, I was joking. I set myself up for that. I gave myself a softball. I was looking at this. Interesting. That's Pat Buchanan. He got a dueling pistol. What do we know about dueling in the past? Well, we know they don't give these things away. Bearden's Alley, you know what that is? That's where they can show us how well they can rebuild walls when they want a tree to go through it. Because this is, of course, they admit that's not natural. We did that so the tree could go through it. I'm not sure you're that good. I think that was done when this tree was already inclined to go that way, and now it's reached its limit. And if you had really done it, you would have made it so it wouldn't be breaking it within 10, 20 years. It's going to push that wall down. Stop it. So anyway, here's where Dr. John Lenning, the first house. Remember how everybody's talking about Charleston like we used to talk about San Francisco? That was the gift that kept giving, and it is there. That's of course a mystery, and but now Charleston, especially thanks to Conspiracy RS, who's driving that home. That maybe hey, Conspiracy RS, tie in a little bit more of how it's Charleston is basically like St. Peter, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're just on other sides of a river. They're the same town. First house, 1711. That's what they say. That's what the expert. That's the year I think that they started the loosening of Satan. The 2001 9/11. If you go back to 1290, it's 1711. Take off the 1,000, it's 1711. 711. Boom. Blessed are those who make the 1335, 45 years after that. So here it is, the first 17th century home tavern. I was looking. Oh, look, here's that Dueler's Alley. This is where Andrew Jackson and those other people from Charleston and Boston, and this is where they would go to settle their disputes. There really was Dueler's Alley, and when they go, I challenge you to a duel. They didn't have to say, where do you want to go? Hey, I guess in 2001, Trump was starting to get delusional. Hey, Marina Abramovich is back in the news because of Ozempic, the fat reducing. And so let's see, what is she saying here? It is the ultimate order is bringing something new. Somebody is the ultimate magician and head of the order. Oh, it's Donald Trump. That's what she's saying in another language. Hey, look, it's Dr. Oz and Marina Abramovich. You thought she went away when Hillary Clinton lost the election? No, she's still hanging out with Dr. Oz, supposedly health guru supporter of the vaccine to this day. What does the recipe say? Yes, okay, breast milk, sperm, menstrual blood, cut your finger, drip in the blood, eat the pain. Yeah, that's what Hillary and her campaign manager, they said, we're invited. Thank you. I'm thinking about going to this, you know. Suggested donation $25. It might be worth it. Wonder if I can live stream it. Uh-oh. So these guys, I think that something very bad is happening in the labor market. It's the lowest ever by far, and that's based on the lowest before that 10 years. Ever since 9/11, 2001, that's what it is. I'm studying water and finding out that the first aqueducts, they say, were built around 1730 in San Antonio. Its ruins. It's a Roman aqueduct. Those Spanish people, they couldn't get over building it. It's alive. Everything's a mud flood. There's another view of it. Clean those bricks up, polish it up. Who's good? Oh, I looked at the Reagan assassination. There only was one Uzi? Really? Everybody else was running around flashing gang signs? I think I only saw one Uzi. I saw this live. This was from the video of it. Here's the hero blocking the bullet. This is the Secret Service. This is what spawned all the movies in the 80s and 90s with Clint Eastwood and those guys. To this day, well, until the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, when they kind of got a bad name, and we're kind of looking back in the past, you know what? They were in charge. A lot of people got hurt, and they're suspicious. So here's another picture from that. Look at this guy. I got my gun. Where's all those machine guns? But they got a lot of pictures of all cops had something taped to their hat that day. This can't be a psyop. No way. There are way too many people involved. And look, that mobster has a gun. I mean, that's secrets. John Hinckley is in there somewhere. That's the bullet. It has the 33 in it. The Q, 2 Qs. Who is going to be the 48th president of the United States? Will it be Michelle Obama? Barack's wife? Oh, look, there's that same hat. I think it's the same hat. There's a gun. This was a pistol fight. They had to make sure that I saw that. This guy, I'm so tense. I've just scrunched the papers. Paper scruncher. I've got my handgun. Me too. Daniel, thousand. I think I already did this, right? I don't think I showed you these. This guy said it's a mystery. He thought I can't figure it out. Well, you don't look at things as body parts of the Nephilim, you know. That's what this is all about. Hey, there's I guess she's a nut job. She's been pretending to be Jewish for a long time. I guess she's a famous person in the government that chained herself to Twitter. Candace, you know, the number one show for your servants hold dear. Don't have pity on her dust. All right, let's see some of the other stuff I got going here. There's this. Today he comes out trying to go like, hey, look, there's a new paper written only 2 weeks. Any young earth creation is so stupid. Look at all these meanders. And I thought to myself, dude, they're all on the same level of the ground. And then the streams come up over it. And yet this guy, look, he's got 800. blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It was like looking in the mirror.
Formation in Arizona, USA, by Myro, Gaines, and Lamb. This was published just a few weeks ago here in 2025. Now, the thing that's interesting about this article is immediately upon reading just a little bit of it, you just realize flood geologies don't work.
Flood geologies are the obvious truth, man. And the meanders in rivers that we can see all go down to one level, and then where the mud flood was most evident, there's 20 meters of silt. Or come on, man. From the framework of how you fit in one Noah's flood, instead of there's a Noah's flood, there's a mud flood, and there was a catastrophic reaping at the end of the 1,000 years. You get this. I got meanders going here. This is, they'll show you these meanders are always at the same level, except these are cut with the glittering sword. I haven't gone over Barak, that glittering sword, in a while. Too long. Or maybe the right amount of time. Because by your glittering sword, your glimmering spears, you go forth as lightning. Like you are lightning, Daniel, the appearance of lightning, because of the glittering sword is made bright, everything. Polish your glittering sword. When did the Father start warning people about this glittering sword? Well, that's what they saw leading them in the wilderness. And he warned them, is this really the Song of Solomon? No, Song of Moses? Did they learn to sing this song, Moses? He teach them this song? Moses spoke the words of this song until they were finished in the ears of all the assembly. Quote, this is that song. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth. May my teaching drop as the rain, gentle rain. Well, okay, that's good. This is when you're faithful. The rock, his word is perfect. That's our Father, Jesus, our Creator. All his ways are justice. God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and upright, much more probably than even that. But yeah, they dealt corruptly with him. It was a rough 40 years. They are no longer his children because they're blemished. They're a crooked, twisted generation. Wow. Yikes. He's not your Father who created you, who made you and established you. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. At what time? You're looking back many generations. They've been in the desert for one generation. They got a new thing going here. Now, he's talking back when the Most High gave to the nations plural their plural inheritance. That's when he divided mankind and he fixed the borders according to the Bene Elohim, the Bene Israel at this point. But the Lord's portion was his people, Jacob. He took the small one. Is Jacob so small? Let's look up Jacob and add is so SMALL, enter, boom. Yeah, Amos 7:5. It would tell you all about it. Oh, Lord God, please cease. How can Jacob stand? He's so small. You think they Amos, sycamore tree grower, he's the one that did this. It starts right off the bat. Boom. Hey, halfway through verse 2, it says, "Oh Lord, please forgive? How can Jacob stand? He is so small. The Lord relented concerning this. It shall not be, said the Lord. This is what the Lord God showed me. Behold, the Lord God was calling for a judgment by fire, and it devoured the great deep and was eating up the land. Then I said, oh, Lord, please cease. How could Jacob stand? He is so small. The Lord relented concerning this. This also shall not be, said the Lord. And this is where, and then you go, it's like, hey, it's going to be a plumb line thing. The high places of Isaac shall be made desolate. Excuse me. That's free. That was a bonus part.
I mean, we can't afford a registration, let alone $350 a month, you know?
Pete Sestilio bought his boat at an auction for well below market value. These low-cost boats usually require significant repairs and are often non-operational. Pete also lacks registration, which means his boat could be targeted for seizure.
Hey Steve, are you sleeping? How are you doing with food?
Hello.
Okay, I have just a little bit with me. So you got some bread?
Make some tuna fish sandwiches. I've lived in this boat for 16 years. Sheriffs come by. They don't bother me. They're pretty nice about things. I'm all legal. I got my registration right there.
So this is what some of the old bikes are. It's more for the winter, but it has like a better.
It's like looking in a mirror. He's got his registration. He thinks he's safe. I hope he knows Jesus and knows that, 16 years. That's a gift. I'm sure you had to ride out some storms. So I have that pulled up. I hope somebody finds it like, well, maybe I could live on open water if I move my boat every 30 days, because then it's public land or something. There's something to it. Hey, if you know anything about that. So anyway, I guess Michael Reagan, the adopted son, Jane Wyman, who I found out was a certified nun, but she was one of those rare nuns that could dress as a civilian, work as a civilian, but she could also dress as a nun. He got sexually assaulted, and they tried to say, like maybe a one-time thing, and then it was a 1-year thing, an after-school thing, but then it also could have been, they were saying it was a Boy Scout trip.
I walked away from God. I walked away from family. It took me 6 years to get my mother to kick me out of her house, moving in with my dad. And then I took it out, of course, on my dad and Nancy and everybody else around me. And I would not tell anybody until April 12th, 1987. I told my father what had happened to me as a child. And that was the first time I told anybody. I told my wife just before that, told my mother just after that.
It gets, the guy had pictures of him. So many people do things for blackmail, but he found the light, I guess. Look, he's.
Your father, for example, did something pretty extraordinary. 1978, in this very state of California, he was the governor. He almost single-handedly got thrown out a law that was about to come in that was going to prohibit gay teachers from teaching in California. And it was a pretty heroic political action by your father. I don't think he would have liked you, his son who he loved, to be using comparative words like bestiality and murder when debating same-sex marriage. That's where I honestly feel you crossed the line.
Well, you feel I crossed the line, but again, it allowed me a point to come on and talk to you about where I feel about this issue, about gay teachers. I don't care about gay teachers. I don't.
So they don't care. It take over whatever. I guess Michael Reagan, Jane Wyman died in her sleep. Released a statement saying he lost a loving mother, classiest lady she ever saw. She was a lay tertiary of the Dominican order. tertiary third order there, lay tertiary, in general, members of the Christian religious orders who do not necessarily live in a religious community, yet can claim to wear the religious habit and participate in the good works of a great order. Yeah, she was doing that to him. It was the outside looking in. They have him, the Wikipedia about Michael Reagan now has his from the outside looking in, claiming he was sexually abused at the age of 7 by a camp counselor. Made him feel rejected. So a little bit changed. He wrote a book, Twice Adopted. Now he's against same-sex marriage and wanted to kill Mark Dice for claiming the September attacks were an inside job. He thought that things were getting nuts in my research for these things. Conservatives seek Denny Hastert resignation because he's raping children left and right in the 80s, 1980s and 90s. And then in 2000s, George Bush makes him third in line to the presidency. Is that? No, you can't read it. Sorry. We could only find out, more about this, early. Well, I guess they're not going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Well, let's look at a few Bible words here. How do you assimilate, literally or figuratively? Well, do you trust these words here? I don't know. Sometimes, maybe. Being comforted, one occurrence. Well, we should look at it. Let's look at it. Verse 10. That I may know him and the power of his resurrection and may share in his becoming like him in his death. It only hurts for a little while. That by any means possible, I and we, somehow this is how it only hurts for a while, attain to the resurrection from the dead. And not by self-inflicting wounds like a moron. Here, that's not quite enough. Let's look at these other times where something else changed. Am I wrapped up here on this? Jacob's here. Where is it? We got Mark. Okay, everything is about the Philippians and this word actually of how he appeared in a different form to two people as they were walking to a town that we call Emmaus, and then all of a sudden there was Morphe. Now that's the word we're looking at here. Morphe. We're going to morphe into a new situation here. Shape, figure, a changing of. I'm pretty sure I pulled that up. So that's 33:13. This is 34:44. Well, this won't be hard because two of the three, Philippians 2:6 and 7, who, though he was in the form, morphe, of God, did not, what is that? Is that a word? Did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. How do you grasp the spirit, right? Of course he couldn't. But emptied himself by taking morphe of a servant, being born in likeness of Adam. Now, how do I want to look at the word taking. He took and sowed, planted a seed, took the 5 loaves. Hmm. For some reason, I feel like I really have to baby my voice. That's not like me. Riot took place in the water. Well, let's keep going. He appeared to the 11. Oh, okay. This is that other form of when you can appear. Afterward, Jesus can appear to the 11. Jesus can morph, and he can, even when he appeared to those, he changed his form. The people could not recognize him in Mark 16:12 on their way. No, this is how he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking into the country, and then they went back and told the rest. He appeared to them. They couldn't see him because he didn't look the same. And when we look at that word, we see that it like in the book of Acts, is it? Well, it's a different word, but when people get like he had baptized the eunuch, Candace's treasurer or something, and then he was in another town. He had just appeared like Jesus could. I think that's interesting. Romans 5:12. Therefore, as sin entered the world, Adam's sin through one man, and death through sin. So death spread to all men because all sinned. There you go. And there's Hebrews 12:6. For the Lord disciplines the ones he loves. The one or the ones, and chastises every son whom he receives. Ooh, he chastises every son he receives. If you study the scripture, you'll find out Father has a thing about his sons that don't serve him. It's mostly, he blames it on their hatred of discipline. They cannot stand correction. They want, what they think of is right, and they're going to make a way for it to seem plausible. And if you aren't on board, then, well, you just become part of the problem. Here's something I wanted to look at. These protocols, drawing principles, intentionally launching an attack in the knowledge that such attack will cause incidental loss of life or injury to civilians or damage to civilian objects or widespread long-term and the above mentioned severe damage to the natural environment, which would be clearly excessive in retaliation to the concrete and direct overall military advantage anticipated. Okay, that's not illegal. That's not. No. An attack is launched on a military object in the knowledge that the incidental civilian injuries would be clearly excessive in relation to the anticipated military advantage according to the principle of proportionality. If the computer says it's not a genocide, it's not a genocide. The civilians it's going to die. That's what the military necessity is. Everybody accepted it. It's all about international humane law. Why not? That is not Calvin's Geneva that it went back to. It's the Rome statute that went into effect in 2002 after it was passed in July 1998. I know I don't talk about these things as much as I should, but it's important to know that I'm not a crackpot. These are well researched and documented, what they call necessities. Did George Washington start the first, the battle with Britain? Was it a fake? Yeah, it was the first military combat who, the rest is history. Look at your $1 bill. But he killed somebody, then lied about it, signed a confession, then took it back. Blah, blah, blah. They're never going to give you the whole truth on that. But he started it because it was always going to be a deal. In 1758, he started it. That would give them one generation from 1711 to grow up their young Mr. Washington and said, hey, here, we're going to teach you how to be a surveyor. And your friend Jefferson, how to be a surveyor. They tried to get me to be a surveyor and wanted me to be in the militias, but the Lord said, no, how about a pacifist, Paco? They're like, what about all that target practice and stuff? God laughed and said, do you want me to go upside your head again? Oh, no. Thanks, but no. That's like, hey, thanks for the terrifying white light you showed me, but I'll wait till I morphe. So one of my constant prayers is, Lord, thank you. I get it. I am full faith now. I am so afraid. I get it. Let's spare me that light for the rest of this life until I am more physically able to be like, not ready to, be terrified. Hey, I've been here. Not to this particular one, but to where they tried to fake that old forts weren't star forts and they looked like this. Please, everybody say, what? Okay. Davis took a census, Samuel 24. All right, I did a lot of Bible studying on my own. I'm probably wanting to drive home that there were 800,000 root word of Gibberim. That would be my guess. So we'll look at that. We got any Gibberims in here? These valiant men. No, that's not really Gibberim. They are valiant. A lot of times used with, strong, strength, substance, trained, valiant. Okay. So the host armies, sons meet for war. Wealth? Huh. I can honestly say I was expecting to have more time, but as you'll see, this download from the Father is really only beginning. I did go look back at the Watchers. We studied this. These doesn't hurt to remind you that Holy Scriptures only considers the Watchers good and from God, not anything ever bad about them. That's only Enochian gibberish. 4 heads, the hairs of his head, the visions of my mind, in my mind, not a hair of their heads was singed when they were in the fire, in their mind. 14 times, all Aramaic. That means it's the most trustworthy parts of the Masoretic text. Seat of thought. Or when it talks about, the highest point, Ezra, he wrote the names of the men who were their leaders, because they kept track of everybody who was in charge. Nebuchadnezzar's statue represented this. The visions of my mind. Let's look at Daniel 8 through 20. Then why did, I clicked 7 because I want to look at here. Consider the horns. That's a big deal thing. And behold, there came up among them another horn, a little one, before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. As I looked, thrones were placed, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was fiery flames, its wheels were burning fire. A stream of fire issued and came out from before him, and thousands served him. 10,000s times 10,000s stood before him. The court said in judgment, and the books were opened. This is definitely a prophecy for what Daniel later says, it's sealed, it's for the end times, because it could say in verse 11, then because the sound, the great words that the horn speaking, and as I looked, the beast was killed, its body destroyed and given over to be burned with fire. As for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. A year and a half. So these are these visions of, here comes the Ancient of Days on a cloud. He saw this in night visions. Of course, why wouldn't he be given dominion, glory, and kingdom, that all peoples, nations, languages should serve him? His dominion is an everlasting dominion. We can agree on that. His kingdom, one that shall not be destroyed. Daniel, his spirit was ancient. Visions of what his innermost, it alarmed him. Some people this happens to. And I approached one of those who stood there in the spirit, asked him the truth concerning this, and he told me and made known to me the interpretation of the things. These things are not sealed. These four great beasts are four great kings who shall arise out of the earth, but the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever. Fourth beast, different from the rest, terrifying, jaws, claws, bronze, devouring, breaking in pieces, 10 more horns, 3 of them fell, the Most High. So there is a word for most, not El Elyon, the God of gods. There is the highest one, the Most High. It's the Aramaic, trusted most portion, Most High, the Spirit God who Morphe took on form and flesh. It's not like I'm not going to tell you again, but that's enough for now. Ezra, we're looking now at the person that took those names and the information so that he could write it down. It was Ezra. I guess he wanted to stop and ID them, that we could write and inform them of their names. Who were the chief among these men? Men can have the head over them. Another Aramaic thing of head, which is why Jesus said, trust the book of Daniel. They say, should it even be in scripture? Whereas the Lord is guaranteed to those with open eyes and ears. It's easy to prove. It's the most trusted book in the Old Testament. In the book of remembrance. That's what they call it in Malachi chapter 3. I don't know why I yodeled that. I don't have to. The Gibar did it in the Aramaic. Oh, so these were those men. Gibars. These men make them stop. Some people, but they were in power, but they were doing something wrong. But they were still these men that people keep track of. They, just a little over 20 times. So these men, O king, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they're those type of men. They're not demons. They're not bred wrong, listening to watchers that are evil, because that's the book of Enoch, not the Jesus Christ, Messiah, Emmanuel, endorsed in what they call Matthew 24. Said, look at the book of Daniel. That's going to tell you about the end times. So much to talk about. These are men. Okay, I guess I got that over it here. Showed these men, Deuteronomy, mighty men. Samuel will take a census man by man. We're going to move on. Strong and mighty, these people can prevail. What word are we looking at? Is that same word, Gebar? The water can prevail. Water prevails a lot. In this form of that verb, it's all about water prevailing. Oh, and the Father has surpassed. Well, the Father is dealing with our spirit God through vibration of the morphe has separated water from water, which I contend is ether. And there you go. So this one is prevailing on the water, gibber something. Some are haughty. Is that a gibber too? Don't be haughty. Are we still? When I study these things, I'm absorbing it. When I go back to explain it, it's like, I looked at it for 10 minutes. It's another one of the gibbas. Saul was taller than the other people. He was head and shoulder taller. Hey, look at me. I'm head and shoulder taller. Where are you? Oh, I'm hiding because I'm afraid to be the king. This is a lot of responsibility. I don't find any verses. I couldn't find any that made him seem haughty. His heart was lifted up. There's the prefix on that. See the difference between proud and here? I don't know. Maybe it can be, you can go different. You can start one way and end another. You can be called and not chosen. Ouch. Tell me something I don't know.
Him, who went and entered a village of the Samaritans to make preparations for him. But the people did not receive him because his face was set toward Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw it, they said, Lord, do you want us to tell fire to come down from heaven and consume them? But he turned and rebuked them, and they went on to another village. As they were going along the road, someone said to him, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said to him, Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. To another he said, Follow me. But he said, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. And Jesus said to him, Leave the dead to bury their own dead, but as for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of God.
Okay. So here's this. This is that San Antonio aqueduct. The oldest Roman type aqueduct. Knowing what we know about the situation here, that they're saying that this was from the 1700s. That's the 16th century, 1720. Wow. First thing in the United States was Catholic, and it was 1720. Suspicious in my world. Here's some other pictures of it as they celebrate it as a tourist place today. Still rocking strong. I think it'll last. I think they're going to make it. I want to look at the archway. Okay. Barely. I don't know how tall a person would be to fit through there. There you go. There's this thing too. Here's that John Lenning house from 1711. So these people were lying, or that other one is lying, or somebody was lying, because they don't say anything about it being from 1711. They say he was one of those Protestants who like to own slaves, and it's uncertain when the house was built. They say it's the first mention of the house that appears in a deed in 1715. Ballparking it, we know that this is the first house close to 1711. Unlike what I showed you earlier, where that guy was practically guaranteeing it. It cost $75,000 to restore in 1961, $75,000 in 1961 is approximately $4.3 trillion today. I'm kidding. I don't have any idea, but I know. Hey, do you want to know something? I'm using this as a joke nowadays because it's true. What's the difference between a trillion and a billion? Statistically, a trillion does not recognize a billion. Statistically, it's nothing. But we're supposed to be able to compute when they say COVID's coming, we're going to pass out $1 trillion so you can stay at home and buy a new TV. A million is a joke to a billion. A billion is a joke to a trillion. We've been joked into trusting their numbers. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I guess I got some, I'm in communication. I got this guy's book. Want to read about it. I do find it's good to be teaching. Sometimes I learn things like this.
Clean.
The plant needs around 125,000 gallons of water per hour to provide the city with the steam it needs.
We need water for steam.
Man, look at that music, right? That's probably the copyright thing that if you play it too long, I'll get another warning. Have to edit out the music. What? This guy? I wonder if they're doing that rock
into a boiler.
Mostly we burn gas here. That gas comes out and there's a ball of fire inside this big box with a big boiler. And that ball of fire is probably about 2,500 to 3,000 degrees. And you have tubes on the inside surface of the lower from 96th Street down to the tip of the Battery.
So we don't need boilers that way. So there's an issue with real estate for chimneys. We get chimneys up the building. There's an issue with fuel storage, fuel delivery, things like that. So steam is very convenient for us. It's already there, manufactured.
It was already there.
To emigrate from Europe. They want that confirmation that it's better to be in America than to be in the old world.
Yeah, all the best Europeans came to America. That's what Americans think. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And the situation is dire in Europe. I'm not denying that, but I think that it's important.
Of course, it's under NATO tutelage or supervision that the situation has become dire.
Right. Exactly. So and that's the critical element.
I'm finding out they did. It was we focus on United States history, ignoring now that we're set up to take the fall. But basically, the Freemasons did what they did in every. Well, Satan was banned from deceiving nations, and now he can. But when he gets out of the pit, he has to form nations. They no new pictures.
For example, the civil rights cargo cult that sort of mass protest actually leads to substantive political change.
Oh, that's sort of what would you call that? The sort of performative gesture brings revolution, right?
Yes. The idea that sort of going up to London, marching around with the British flag outside Parliament while all the members of Parliament are away in their constituencies at the weekend, and then all just going home again is going to lead to any kind of change at all.
Transmitted across oceans to a city thousands of miles away, Moscow. From the earliest days of the project, Soviet intelligence had quietly infiltrated the Western Alliance. Under Joseph Stalin's orders, the NKVD, the Soviet state security apparatus, had selective access. This isolation was both protection and prison. The codebreakers knew they were uncovering something enormous, yet they could speak of it to no one. To the outside world, the Cold War was just beginning. Analysts referred to the United States as a nation divided by fear. Yet even they were not immune to anxiety. So, in the United States, the intelligence establishment expanded beyond recognition.
What's making the computers talk about this now? You know, these are all computers. The computers are putting this out in the algorithm. It's a computer. He's trying as hard as he could. Yes, brilliant. You did not go far enough, said one robot to another. Here's this thing about the sewage and water works of steam, baby. Birdsill Holly invented steam. Usable steam, and he was only born in 1820. But the way that we use steam, that New York still uses their steam. Remember, it's barely 150 years old. Well, this guy did it. He's a mechanical engineer and the inventor of the water hydraulics. This is everything, you know. Show me a picture. Oh, thanks for nothing. Fire improvement. He made fire hydrants, the first steam. Man, no steam, nothing pumped until this guy. And he did it by accident because he just cared about his family and wanted to said, hey, I want to heat my home with steam. And I've got extra steam. Let me see if it heats your house 100 yards away. Yeah, oh, sure. He went to the Auburn Theological Seminary, of course. That's very progressive social. Maybe they have those lay tertiaries. Holly Parker, Comfort Holly. Oh, sure. That's not weird. This still is there. It's probably still works with a little bit of a karate chop or two. I'll show you what he did. He invented that. That is sold 1,000 of them. They're still here because everything's brand new. Look, it's easy. Look, he invented this in 1869. He had it patented. Thanks, buddy Holly. Birdsall Holly. There, starting over again. He did it. And he did it for these guys, the Sullivan in upstate New York. Oh, wait. The Sullivan expedition. That was around the same area. George Washington, after, we were getting the upper hand there against the British had, remember that nation that in 1 year, they were 5 nations of the Iroquois making treaties with England. And then the next year, there were the 6 nations of the Iroquois making treaties with Britain. No, we didn't figure that out, did we? So anyway, the campaign was ordered by the guy who within 1 generation started the war with England. And supposedly there was an attack here in Wyoming Valley. Oh, that's a massacre site. In Cherry Valley. Oh, another Indian raped a woman or something. So he sent out for, hey, go scorch earth all of the remaining Iroquois, because we just don't need them anymore. Largely successful, 40 villages raised, crops and foods destroyed. They don't care. They simply don't care. And the campaign just over 5,000, so justly, because the word just doesn't mean like, it means it just happened or it was a just decision. When somebody in modern English says the campaign drove just over 5,001, 5,002, slightly over, that's not how that would be used. It's either a just decision or it just happened. I know I beat that dead horse not as often as I used to, but I'm not going to let it go. So anyway, nowadays, these people wrote a paper going like, why are we spending money to update the Sullivan Clinton markers that were made in the early 1900s that said, we're going to mark the road and the path in all of the villages that they destroyed. Yeah, take a closer look at the granite monolith established in, 1930 to commemorate it. They were proud of it in 1929 because it was white man world and one drop rule. Eugenics was legal and it was taught to the Nazis. These were the people that had that weird thing. And I looked and looked. I could not find really any trace of where the Iroquois talked about them living under a matriarchal system where women could have clan mothers and all of a sudden appoint leaders and overrule them and held to a higher regard. That all seems to be, by people who are writing about, oh, in 1999, we're going to do something to say, no, you know what? There were clan mothers. They didn't get as much mention as they should, but blah, 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 blah. It's a lie. Did we talk about Handsome Lake? It's a man, a religious leader. Now, the whole matriarchy, they're saying it goes back to Jewish descent for the early Tanakh. The oral tradition told them about it. And when the oral tradition finally, they say goes back to Moses, was written down in the 1880s. There was a whole big thing about you can't be a Jew unless your mom is a Jew, and how do you like me now? It's oral laws. The teachers of the oral law are said to be direct transmitters of an oral tradition going back to Moses. I have a better idea. I wish they would shut up. People like these guys. They're the ones that rely on Josephus that came up with the Roman rule. And now we abort children left and right because we don't care. They'll tell you that I'm stupid, usually by saying, no, don't worry about abortion. It's the economy, stupid. I'm pretty sure they're talking about me. So they're the repeaters. Like 15 years ago, nobody knew. Nobody would have ever believed that somebody could be tricked into thinking that in their mind they're a woman, although they were born physically a man. And now we can figure it out. That was 2015, where that was introduced. And I'm telling you that as of 10 years later, it's a deeply held, entrenched thought as scientifically proven, which of course it is not. But early traditions, that reminds me, I'll pop in again. I think I would decline all that and tell you that maybe I'll save it. We'll look at this. Here is that guy, that Scorabosos, showcases an early depiction of Earth's spherical shape. I don't think that's what he's showing. I think he's showing that it's going to drop out of horizon. I do believe that globe and their spheres like this thing, they all thought it was he said it's a clear description of the Earth as a sphere. Of course, they take it back to Rome and that it was a myth that the Earth was flat. From 1991, everybody else always thought it was. But I thought I showed a quote earlier where he said that, this is something viewed from the stationary firmament. This is what it would look like if you were flying over it, like the stationary firmament. I'm pretty sure I had that. And that's true. Now, the astronomy of the ancient world, that'd be the same for them. It's not it. The celestial sphere, the water divided by the water. This is not a good explanation. This is how we explain it now. They were looking at it as you were in the fixed firmament, what a map would look like. That's what I think. That's what I'm leaning toward. Their phases, this works on a flat, not a globe, because it's not showing everything moving and staying because of a mythical gravity as it spins. I really don't think that the Islamic thing should be trusted. This is a model based on the Islamic world here. They had a golden age. I'm sure they did. They were, it was a Christian golden age. You had to at least fake Christianity. These people didn't fake believe in a Trinity, which is why they got their history totally rewritten as a foil against supposedly the people that Josephus teaches belong in what, faux Palestine today, fake Israel. That's all fake. Now, the other Mappa Mundis, there's that one, the world or universe is divided into two parts, elementary and water, ethereal. The elementary consists of four parts: the earth, about which is water, then air, then fire, reaching up to the moon. This is the ethereal, where the immutable, the fifth essence by philosophers. Clockwork universe. The Sorbesco made these things. Let's look at what they call the fifth essence. They referred to it as the ether. So they were still experimenting it in the early 1900s, still arguing about it today. It runs like a clock because the sun and the moon are clocks. The deist and the Enlightenment are start of the golden age past theology, propping up abortion and all of the other things. Look, this is supposed to be expensive. They say it's from the 1600s. It's not. It's from the 1800s, and everybody knows it.
Now, Lanes is almost certain to be Nicholas Lane, who worked in Southwark, not a million miles from here, between about 1775 and 1786.
Okay, that's putting it 100 years earlier.
And in fact, if you have a look at some of the detailed names down here, let's go down to Australia, always a good place to start. The whole of Australia is sketched in, whereas on some of the early 18th century globes, part of Australia is missing. But it's called New Holland.
The dog bite statistics are going up. Good dogs, bad dogs. I think you have to be trained as a dog that you would kill a human. Dogs are made to coexist with humans. You have to teach dogs to act like this and then reward them. They think they're playing rough, but they're doing it for a reward. I had a dog that was half chow chow one time. They do raise the insurance, but it's the purple tongue. Bears and a couple of dogs have the purple tongue. This is the oldest dog breed that they know. A gift from China. Another one of the mysteries that, Lord willing, and if I can, Lord gives me another day, we'll keep studying and present more later. But that is it for now. Only one thing for you to, well, there's a lot of things to remember. It is Flat Earth Nation. Golden Age is past. The Mudflood was Armageddon. You've got an orphan trained brain. You've been Hegelian dialectic. You've been messed with the globe and things all your life, and it takes the spirit that predestined you from before the foundation of the earth. You've been called, chosen, elect, and adopted, but it doesn't matter unless you've been on your knees, believing in your heart that Jesus is Lord, and then confess that out loud with your mouth and lived it for the rest of your life, and you die in faith. Then it's well done, my good and faithful servant. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. Adios, amigos. That's how Paco like I say.